Hello and welcome to the short video on the Capstone Workshop 2 assessment. I'm Philip Cohn, the Senior Module Leader. Before you begin, if you could have alongside you please the rubric for written advice format and the rubric for analysis and evaluation. Also with having the Workshop 2 rubric feedback sheet. Finally, preparation. If you haven't watched the analysis and evaluation video, please do it now before you go any further. So let's look at these three pieces of paper I've asked you to have a look at. This is the first one. This is the written advice rubric for format, and you'll see there are 4 areas of assessment criteria: introduction, body of advice, clarity of advice, and conclusion. Next is the analysis and evaluation rubric, and there's a part from analysis and a part from evaluation. Both of these two rubrics you saw in workshop 1 and the formative assessment. This last sheet looking at is the feedback sheet that the marker will use to record your performance in the assessment on. It has on it the marks. There are a total number of 200 marks, and there are marks for analysis and format for the individual component, and marks for evaluation and format for the team component. I'll go over that stuff in a couple of minutes. Let's have a look at the assessment. Workshop 2 assessment contributes 20% to the overall Capstone grade. There are 2 components, individual component and a team component. And in terms of our learning outcomes, we are assessing teamwork, analysis and evaluation skills, and written communication skills. The individual component is worth 13 out of 20, and of that 13, 10 is from analysis and 3 is from written communication. Team component contributes 7 out of the 20, 3 of which is for evaluation and 4 is for written communication. Cutting it the other way, written communication will give you 7 out of 20 and analysis and evaluation will give you 13 out of 20. There are 3 task words we are going to use in this assessment. The first is prepare, and that's going to say prepare a report, and we'll talk about that some more. The second and third ones are analyze and evaluate. And those 2 task words will reflect what's in the rubric, so that's what we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about in this video as we go through. So they're the key task words: analyze and evaluate. In terms of what you're required to do, each candidate is required to prepare an individual written report, and then each table team is required to prepare a written report also. But that report provides an evaluation of the individual reports from that table team members. So let's go back to the sheet again, because this is probably one of the key ones. You will see that individual component, there's analysis, there's 5 issues you have to look for, and each of those issues are worth 20 out of 200. So there's going to be 100 for the 5. Then there's a format, and there's the introduction and the conclusion are worth 5 each. The body of advice and clarity of advice are worth 10. That gives you 13 out of 20 or 130 out of 200 for the individual component. For the team component, there's evaluation, which is worth 30 marks, and format 40 for the team format, plus the 30 for the evaluation, which is 70. So that's the way the marks are going to do. What I'm going to do now is explain each of those parts in more detail. You are asked to analyze 5 issues. Each issue is out of 20. So if you get, when you go down the left-hand column here, if you can identify and correctly explain the relevant issue and discuss it in relation to other parts of the case using other information, and you can integrate with operational or strategic information in the case to provide the so what for reader, you get advanced for that issue, right? So the marker is going to read issue 1, whatever it is. Issue 1, this is what it is. Have you identified it and correctly explained it? Have you discussed in relation to other parts of the case using other information? Have you integrated with operational or strategic information in the case and provide the so what? If you do all that successfully, you'll get 20. Go halfway down the rubric. If you just identify and correctly explain a relevant issue, you'll get competent, which is 12 marks. If you just repeat what we told you in the case and for that issue, you'll get 4 out of 20. And if you use irrelevant data or you are technically incorrect in your analysis, or you don't attempt it, you're going to get BS, which of course is 0. So the marker will go through each of the 5 issues you'll write and work out where on the criteria you're heading, advanced, proficient, competent, for each issue. And then you're going to get a mark 20, 16, 12, 4, or 0. They'll then look at the format of your whole document. And here we're looking for four things. We're looking for an introduction and a conclusion. So the introduction at the advanced level would explain the purpose of the report, would provide a brief background, and would explain how the report is structured. The conclusion clearly and concisely summarizes the main argument and clearly links this argument to the advice given. Those 2 issues are worth 5 each. It's worth at this point actually going to the far right hand of the grid, and it says below standard, the conclusion contains new material. You get below standard, you get 0. So it doesn't matter what else you do. If your conclusion contains new material, you will get 0 for the conclusion. The other 2, body of advice, the report follows a logical structure, provides justified argument for each option presented, and identifies assumptions. That's advanced for the body of advice. And clarity of advice, well, if it's well crafted or very well crafted, that demonstrates logical analysis and enhances the understanding. So it's a very well crafted piece of work. You're going to get advanced, and going down proficient, competent, developing, and below standard. And below standard there, difficult to understand, confused, unclear, hard to understand. It's going to be below standard. Right, so that's the individual component, and that will give you 130 out of the 200 marks available, or your 13 out of 20. 5 issues you need to analyze, but you need to put it inside a format that has an introduction, the body, and a conclusion. Turning now to the team evaluation component. For an advanced evaluation, it is an evaluation of all of the issues identified in the individual reports against each other, and providing a decision/conclusion. So for 30 marks, you have to evaluate all the issues in the reports against each other and provide a decision/conclusion. Go down to the other end. If you just identify the principal issue and there's no discussion, you're going to get developing, which will be 6 marks. If you just have a discussion of an issue as principal without reference to the other issues, you're going to get 18 and competent. The other part of your team is the format. It's the same rubric as before. This time everything is worth 10, so we're looking for an introduction and conclusion. Remember, conclusion shouldn't have new material. You end up getting 0. And it should the body of advice to be logical, provides justified argument, and identifies assumptions. And there's a clarity of advice. It's well crafted. Those are the 4 things we're going to judge the format by. Okay, how much do you need to write? It's a fair question. The answer is a bit difficult, but it is, I think, enough to meet all the requirements in the rubric. So you look to the rubric, and that will give you a hint. Analysis. Generally, we're looking for 4 things. And if you look at the developing, competent, proficient, and advanced, you get an idea of that. So we're looking for a fact relating to the issue. We're not making stuff up here. What's the fact in the case? Then we're looking to be able to explain why that is relevant, why it is an issue. Not just what it is, but why is it an issue for the business? Then we're trying to link it to other parts of the business, its operations or its strategy. And then we go to the next level and we say, well, actually, so what? Why should the manager be concerned about that? And that's the 4 levels we're expecting from analysis. Go back to the rubric and follow that through. Now, there is a point about bullet or dot points, depends on what term you use. These often do not show the connection between ideas or concepts, and therefore they don't show analysis and evaluation. You generally are going to need to use sentences to show how the fact is relevant, and then how that relevance relates to other parts of the business, and how that creates a so what. Series of dot points or bullet points won't do that for you. So each issue, you need those 4 parts, and don't use bullet points for each of the individual parts inside an issue because you won't be able to show the connections. Always an issue for some candidates looking at past offerings papers. Only recommend assessments to review is the CAP 216 Workshop 2 assessment and solution. It is different. I'll come back to that point, but it's worth having a look at. The CAP 216 main exam, the CAP 216 supplementary exam when it's available, when it's not at the moment, and it won't be available before Workshop 2, and the CAP 117 formative assessment task and solution that we handed out near the end of Workshop 1. But, and this is a really big one, that's why we made it larger, the question is always different, okay? Don't use last year's answers or last offering's answers as your answer. The CAP 216 Workshop 2 rubric is different from the one we're using for CAP 117. Don't use it as the solution, as a template, okay? So if you write what we wrote in the answer for 216, you won't pass, but it will give you some idea. Right, I hope that's useful and helpful. Good luck with going through the pre-release, and good luck with and enjoy Workshop 2.